Hello, hello, Clay.
Well, hello.
How are
Gosh,
you doing, sir?
I am melting.
Melting.
But um I'm hanging in there and just seeing you, I was like, God, was the last time we talked September, August of
It
last
was
year?
pretty much, it was a year ago because I was on holiday. I remember I was on holiday, so it must have been August time, yeah.
Oh
So
my
pretty much a
God.
year ago, yeah. I found because last time I was in a makeshift kids' bedroom to keep out of the way, and the rest of the people jumping in the swimming pool. But I'm back in
I
my office now.
yeah, I do believe I was at my parents' house
Yeah, yeah, something
down
like
in
that, yeah.
Virginia. But now I'm in my wife's office, so we'll just keep things
Just keep
mobile and keep
switching
them.
around, exactly the same as one of the people in Devil Inside who likes
Oh
to hop
God.
around different places.
Just keeping my options open, keeping my hosts and vessels, free and clear.
I mean, apart from sweating and hot, you must have also been really tired because I know that you've just come straight back from Comic Con in San Diego, no? How did that
Yeah.
treat you?
It was honestly, it was beautiful. You know, it's it was my third or fourth time to Comic-Con over the la of San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah,
So over the scope of like maybe 10 years. I don't go every year. I don't get invited. You know, I get to go to New York Comic Con frequently, but San Diego feels like a real special treat.
sure.
And I was invited at the not the last minute, but kind of later in the game, and I just leapt for it, and it was utterly exhausting. I took a red eye there, took a red eye back. I was there for like a sum total of 24 hours,
Really?
and it. But the just the kind of sheer energy of it was so, I don't know, it was just lovely. And I got to hang out with like Shane Hawk and CJ Lead, Dina Helm, Luke Dumas, like just all these like wonderful people.
Yeah.
Um, it just felt like it was kind of a very special thing that I got to do. So,
Huh?
and I am paying for it now.
It's worth its weight in gold, no?
Yeah, yeah. I don't get much
Well,
gold, but I will, what I
you know
get,
what
I
I
will
mean, yeah.
take. Yeah.
I mean, would you say, I mean, obviously San Diego's Comic Con is kind of always been very much a love letter to horror, but I guess this year particularly, maybe you noticed a lot more so this time
Well, it's
because it is
funny.
so resilient at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I do think superheroes still reigned,
Indeed.
and there was pre Ryan Gosling and post Ryan Gosling. So like you like the fan service is still there. Um, but like the two kind of pleasant discoveries that I made while I was there, um, and like I have no like my head was down so much that I feel like someone else who was there for the complete experience might have a more robust kind of viewpoint. But when I was there, uh I like Tananarive Dew was there somewhere. And I never crossed paths with them.
Right.
Kirsten White was there, and I never like so many horror authors, genre authors were present, uh, like there are just so many of us that you know you would either be a ship in the night or but like the presence was there, and I found that really kind of pleasantly surprising that you could be like, Sarah Gailey was there, and I never saw them.
Yeah.
um, but that, and then we had this panel at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, which is one of the busiest days of the whole convention. And I remember having a moment where I was like, no guest attendee is going to want to like go see a horror lit panel on a Saturday afternoon. They're going to
I
want to do
don't.
all the fun comic book things. And I was pleasantly incorrect. Like I was like our panel was packed. And I was like, this is amazing that it wasn't like Hall H, but it was definitely
Yeah.
like for our room, like there were very few empty seats. And I was just like, everybody who's here wants to be here. Um, and that is a testament to horror, I think. And this is like speaking specifically to horror lit, not like horror movies, horror. Like there were no. I mean, I think CJ. lead is a bit of a celebrity, but like there were no like there were no superstar. There was no like, Robert Downey
No,
Jr. on our
but
panel.
don't downsell yourself. And then there's Luke Dumas as well. I mean, they've some fantastic books that they both released,
I mean,
as well as
amazing
yourself.
writers,
Yeah,
amazing writers. But I it, it I think the epiphany that I had in the moment was people really like horror fiction, and are willing to engage with it on this level of discourse, like conversation. And
yeah,
you know, that was a real joy to kind of participate in. And yeah, I just felt really lucky. Just like what good fortune, what privilege it is to kind of be there and be able to like take part in that conversation.
yeah. I mean, at the same time, there's so many films that are coming out horror, especially horror movies, are all adaptations. I mean, you've even got one, and you've wrote a screenplay for one that's been at festivals. Ghost Eater as well
Yeah,
was it's in
yeah,
production, and
yeah.
then there's so many at the moment. Daniel Krause's books are all getting made
Oh
into
my
movies as
God.
well. There's so
Yes.
many, so I get the
Yeah.
feeling that I mean, like you said there's probably a lot more of an allure for people to kind of get into reading, even if they weren't readers beforehand, to kind of
Yeah.
to get in and be able to read the books before they come out in the cinema, no?
Totally. And it is, we are definitely hitting a wave. And I think that, with Josh Mallerman, Krauss, um, even Philip Fracassi, like
Yeah, as well, yeah.
you get the sense that like there is, and I think those are the kind of frontiersmen at the moment of that wave. And but then you get this, and because those are all, you know, in either production, post-production, or in effect like release mode.
Yeah.
Um, but then that's all pre backrooms, pre obsession. So like
100%.
now
Yeah.
there's like this huge other wave where like Hollywood producers are so kind of craven for IP, for content, that they come scrounging around for, what's out there already that we can kind of scoop up and uh, stake our claim in.
No, that's great. I mean, does that change the way maybe that you approach writing, or do you kind of try not to pay too much attention to that, because it could make your books more cinematic and maybe
Yeah,
kind of um, change the way that you gauge how to write a book, so to please producers who are looking on the lookout for content.
I hope not. I really
Yeah,
do. Like I don't think I, you know, it's interesting because I do think that like, every so often, not everything, but a lot of things that I've written, people be like, "Oh, that would," and I'm sure every author gets this, but there's always the
sure.
moment where someone will be like, "That would make a great movie."
Great movie.
And then like internally you're like, "Well, yeah, it would." And um
Yeah.
but it hasn't uh changed the writing itself almost to a default. My God. I just signed up relatively recently with Nightfire and toward Nightfire, and my manager, God love him, he's put up with me for so long. And there's like this moment with every book where he's like, "This one's gonna be a commercial one, right? Like
Yeah.
you're gonna do a commercial thing, right? Like take,
Really?
one for you, one for me." And every time I'm like, "Yeah, this one's totally gonna be commercial." It 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 comes back to haunt me. Like it really kind of like smacks me in the face because those are usually the ones that are the most polarizing, the most like divisive, and I yeah, for the life of me, like if I knew what it would take to actually
Sure.
genuinely make a commercial thing, I would maybe try. Uh, but the attempts that I have personally undergone have all uh backfired
Yeah, no, but I mean
fantastically.
at the same time, backrooms and obsession, for example, you wouldn't on paper, yeah, they might not seem like the most commercial successes, right?
Yeah,
Especially backrooms. And look how massive they've become. So I mean, there's just no way of
absolutely.
it's not rocket science at all.
Well, I think to that effect, the real what's my takeaway from Backrooms and Obsession is it has to be a singular vision. It has to be new, fresh, something that feels real, earnest, grounded, like that viewpoint, that kind of like mode of storytelling is so singular to Curry, Baker, and Shane Parsons. You know, like those like but also like I think you have to put your faith, or Hollywood has to put their faith in to storytellers. Because the bad lesson I think everybody's learning is like, oh, we got to go to YouTube and find some, like we have to
Right.
like where's the next, and but it's not even so much that they're like hiding in plain sight in social media or on these platforms as much as it is like who is telling a story that feels so singular to that person, that individual, that you feel the kind of the singularity of it, the novelty. Like it's like only Shane can tell a story the way that Shane does.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
No, that completely digressing. So coming to yours, I mean, mentioning obsession there. There are together another. It's another one that I thought of when I was reading your book. Um,
yeah,
so, so love is very much in abundance uh, in horror movies. I mean, it always has been, but it's very much the case right now. There's a lot of horror stories that kind of talk about love, toxic
hmm
relationships. So I'm quite curious what it was that made you decide that you wanted to write a possession movie about love.
yeah.
It's difficult not to talk about without giving too much away. But what was the kind of like the light bulb moment that you realized that now was the time to write? Even I think you're about the same age as me. Kind of
Yeah.
this young love uh, interspersed with a possession story.
Um, it's a couple things, and I don't know if it is the right time, but it's the time that that the opportunity kind of presented itself, so I'm not taking it. Uh, but two things happened, and I guess initially, uh, the last kind of the previous-ish novel that I wrote was Wake Up and Open Your Eyes, which was a kind of massive, larger scale kind of look at demonic possession by way of social media and
Yeah.
news. Um, and the response to that book was really affecting to me. Like,
Right.
I knew that like people would that it would have its kind of detractors, and but it was interesting how what the response was, and it was tough to process in different ways, and the kind of the level of scrutiny that the book got, for whatever reason, like I really kind of took a lot of it to heart, and my knee-jerk reaction was to kind of like I wanted to kind of bury my head a little bit, like work on some,
Right.
like I was like, God, I really want to work on something like small, contained. Uh, and I kind of joked about it at the time, but I was like, I should just write a love story. I should just do something really, like really, like I just want a romance.
Yeah.
Um, and it just so happened that in and around that time, I was approached by an editor at Mira Books, which is Harlequin romance. And this editor, Emma, God love her, uh, she she had read a previous novel of mine called What Kind of Mother,
Right.
and in that book there is a thread of romance. Like there's a kind of like two broken souls kind of meeting each other later in their life, reuniting, rekindling a kind of old flame. And it was never like overtly a love story, but there was love in it. There was
Right.
an element of romance, at least certainly like a flirtation. And Emma contacted me and she was like, "Hey, I just read this book and I see that you kind of there's this love story in there, and I'm curious, like, have you ever thought about writing a love story?" And it was just honestly, it was just like those two things kind
That's
of
aligned. Yeah,
coalescing at the right moment to be like, this is an opportunity that is presenting itself. Like the stars are aligning.
yeah.
And I took it. And what have I done?
I think it's great. No, I think it's fantastic. I mean, obviously, you get this offer to write a love story, but how did you come upon, without spoiling the story, how did you kind of come upon the idea of creating a love story mixed with the possession?
Yeah.
Just
Well,
because it's like a love story, but it's how can you write a love story about it's so difficult to talk about without spoiling it, but
I'm
with
fine. I'm happy with spoilers. I think in a weird way, like people need to be warned about this
mm.
book.
Well, we can say that there's a possession, there's a demon
Yeah.
involved. So I'm
Yeah,
quite curious how
absolutely.
you have a demon and then this another human who has a brush with death. How
Yeah.
you can bring a love story into two different beings, one being evil, and
Yeah.
make it and turn it into a love story, if you will.
Yeah. Um, it's funny because after Wake Up and Open Your Eyes, like there were questions that I kind of asked that couldn't be answered in that book. And it's this idea of like possession, like when does one lose their autonomy and possession, and when does one like I like this constant question of like when do you lose your sense of self in demonic possession,
Right.
and furthering that in through the filter of romance of a love story. I, you know, thinking back to uh kind of gothic love stories where you have this kind of sense of like love being this all-consuming, all kind of overpowering force that like, one loses themselves and you succumb to love. And it was taking the specific notion of demonic possession and how demonic possession in of itself is a loss of autonomy, that your sense of self is overtaken and you become something else, that you are no
Right.
longer in control of your body. And then taking the notion of love as possession and how love, in this kind of this specific lens, you have a sense of relenting control and that idea of like who is who are you in the kind of flame of an all-consuming, all overwhelming, overpowering, possessive sense of love. And I wanted to take it quite literally and kind of like fuse the two so that you have a man with no soul who basically is kind of destined for hell and is kind of rocked with the acknowledgement of this, that like, when death comes for him, he will, in no uncertain terms be doomed.
Yeah.
A man with no soul and a demon who's just looking for the right host, the right vessel. Um, and that these two find each other at either the best time or worst time, depending on your point of view. And then the in that kind of scope of what a romance novel is, you see the two of them navigate the the kind of trials and tribulations of becoming one.
Yeah.
And that in of itself is a scary thing. Love is a scary thing.
But at the same time, I don't know if I was reading between lines, but apart from kind of this love story and kind of this the way that possession can kind of overtake people and all of their senses, I also felt the way that the demon she's not content, she's scared of becoming too obsessed with one specific person, and so she
Yeah.
likes to body hop. We can say that
Yeah,
without giving
yeah,
too much away. She uses kind of she calls them corporeal guest houses, the people that she hops into, which I loved.
yeah.
So I'm quite curious. Was there ever your intention there, or were you ever inspired kind of by? social media and those kind of things, and how we kind of use these things almost like couple guest houses, and kind of we'll doom scroll,
Yeah,
and we'll
yeah.
kind of we'll be fixated on these certain things for like 5 minutes, and then the next 5 minutes something else. And just was that something that was ever in your mind, or is that just something that I've read between the lines?
That's great. I love that. I don't know if I was specifically thinking of social media, but like Lilith,
It's kind of
this
our attention
demon.
span right now. Yeah,
Um, I mean, it's it's interesting because Lilith as a character is this non-corporeal entity who has come to our world in order to kind of influence uh, human, like the living, to kind of do bad things. That like if our morality is kind of a scale, you do good, you do bad, and depending on the weight of that at the end of your life, you either go up or you go down. And Lilith is here to ensure that more people go down than go up. And uh, that that kind of like devil on your shoulder, always kind of whispering in your ear to just do the bad thing, do the evil thing, do the dark thing. Um, it's there's a certain kind of mobility to that, like a certain kind of like motor.
yeah.
And this is not a spoiler because I think it's within the first kind of 20-ish pages, 15, 30 pages. Uh, but but the last quote unquote relationship that Lilith had with a vessel, with a human host, um, they ended up getting stuck in the body
Yeah.
for an inordinate amount of time. Um, and it was a bad relationship. It was in the rules of this book, the logic is that like human contact, skin to skin contact is all it takes for a demon to kind of drift from one host to the next. But this body, nobody will touch it. It's in a hospital. Every hand is gloved. Every like
Yeah.
there's no way for Lilith to escape, because the host that they're in is in a vegetative state, and it basically traps them, and that fear, that kind of anxiety and that fear of being kind of stuck is traumatizing for Lilith. So once they're free of that, uh, they don't want to get tied down again. They wanna move, 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 go, go, go. They don't wanna get tied down to any one particular host for a while. And then they meet Jordan and all changes.
But then coupled to that, at the same time, it must have been quite complicated to create. I mean, I felt that between Jordan and Lilith, Lilith has more of a moral compass, especially when it comes to she doesn't really understand why Jordan won't accept them for who they are inside,
Yeah.
as different bodies, because they possess different bodies. That must have
Yeah.
been quite a complicated balance to decide who had the more balanced moral compass of the two,
Yeah.
no? Yeah. Especially the demon, because she comes off as, well, they come off as a grounded or anchored
Yeah. Isn't
being,
that
if you will.
amazing? I mean, it is very complicated, and I do want to kind of pay lip service to this idea that the two of them are, if a demon has more of a moral compass than you do, you're pretty evil. And like, it is like these are not good people. Um, but it is the kind of the element of discovery that like Jordan is one of these people who he's a bike courier. We meet him kind of at a point where he's kind of cock of the walk, like he's very kind of full of himself, but then he has this accident and ends up dying for like 2 minutes, and in that 2 minutes he realizes he's going to hell. And so once he is revived, is resuscitated, he has that kind of dawning realization that like he's in essence kind of on borrowed time, that like once death comes back for him, he's not going to the good place.
Yeah.
And you know I think when one is faced with that kind of realization, that they would probably uh what is your moral compass when you realize you either have no soul or you're damned already? Like, there's no redemption for you.
Yeah.
So in a lot of respects, it is Jordan's kind of awakening to his own darkness through the encouragement of Lilith that the two of them kind of become the kind of complete version of themselves. And I that was a kind of, you ask, was that complicated? And it was, um, because for me, the kind of path of discovery through the writing of the book and the revising of the book was just how dark the book got. Um,
Yeah.
that wasn't necessarily something that I was anticipating, but as their relationship intensified, so did the darkness.
Uh-huh. So I'm quite curious then, how did you plan out their relationship? Was it something that you kind of knew point A to point Z, or was it more of a point A to point B or C, and we'll see what goes from there?
Well, it's interesting because for me, this is a romance book. It was bought by a romance publisher, and it would always be a horror romance. And in my mind, what that means is it's a horror story embedded in the structure of a romance novel. Um, because it's a romance novel at a romance imprint at a romance publisher, I had to follow certain rules that are dictated by the romance genre.
Uh-huh.
Specifically, this book needed to have an HEA, a happily ever after.
Right.
Like from day one, even before day one, like the editor, the publisher, like everybody was like, this, like you will have to abide by this very specific rule, which is like there will need to be an HEA. And knowing that that was point Z, and that I would always be kind of working towards that, um, and I knew what that HEA would be for
Yeah.
our two main characters, for Jordan and Lilith. What I didn't know, and what was kind of the discovery along the way, was, oh, you can have an HEA for your lovers, but a happily ever after for your
Doesn't mean
protagonists
for everyone.
doesn't mean it's a happily ever after for anybody else in the book. Like, and specifically in this one, their HEA is at the almost direct cost of everybody else's happiness, to the extent
Spoiler
that,
alert, yeah.
yeah, yeah, um, the happier they are, the worse off we are, and that was an interesting kind of epiphany to have. And how dark the book went because of it.
It really did go dark at the end. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to go as dark as it did at the end. Yeah.
You and me both.
Which is always better for a writer as well. And I guess you love surprising yourself. So something that I couldn't stop thinking to, especially towards the end of the book, was in the end at the end of the day. I mean, you said that love is almost like possession. It's like a possession in itself. I would say that a book is almost like a possession in itself as well. And I'm quite
Yeah.
curious if when you're writing a book, I imagine you maybe try and put yourself in other people's shoes and imagine how you can possess the reader. I'm quite curious how you approach that. Because when a book really works for me, it possesses me. That's the only thing I can think about until I finished it, put it down.
Yeah.
So I'm quite
God,
curious how
isn't
you
that a
approach
beautiful
that.
thing?
Yeah, it's fantastic. You just even though I have to put it down every so often for work or whatever, it's something
Yeah.
that's just it's there until I finished it. Yeah.
I I love that because it is all consuming. And oh my God. Just as an example, the last book that really did that for me is this book that's coming out in November called Cold Empty Rooms by Andy Marino.
All right, I've seen
You
it on
you
Steam.
have to
Yeah,
find it.
I've heard people speaking really
Oh
well
my
of it.
God.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It's a book that you read it and you just say to yourself, this is a book that is like changing me.
Am I
Like
right
I
in saying
have to
that's his
change.
debut novel as well?
No, no, he's been
Oh, it's
around
not.
for quite a while. He's you know he's at least three books in.
All right.
All the Pale Horse. Oh God, what's the first one? Up Comes a Pale Horse, or like I
Maybe
don't
I'm
know if
getting
that's
mixed
his
up with
debut.
something else then. I'm not sure,
Um,
but yeah.
but then he wrote The Swarm, which was his last novel. Um, all the dark, pretty horses, the pretty gray horses, the pale ponies. I'm embarrassed. He's gonna hate me for this,
Oh no,
and I deserve
I'm
it.
more embarrassed. I didn't even realize that he was. Yeah, I'm
Um,
not familiar with his work. Yeah,
Comes a Pale Horse. Ugh, I'm not gonna get it. But yeah, so writing is in of itself a you want to
if it
cast that
works, it
spell.
possesses you. Yeah,
Yeah. And not every book does that for every reader, but
sure.
like when a book does that to you because it is an organic it feels real. Like it's and I you can't fabricate that. Like it has
Uh,
it's the truest kind of form of uh alchemy that ever existed. Like I
and is
love it.
for you as a writer, is there any? I mean, there's no formula, obviously, but how do you kind of gauge for yourself that you think, you hope that you're going to entrap people? It's almost like a possession.
I mean, honestly, when you're at your truest sense of self, like there's a there's an interesting kind of sense of honesty, like emotional honesty that I personally have. I don't know if others do, but like when I'm writing from a place that is like I am being emotionally bare, uh you I think the reader feels it. And when you're not, the reader senses that as well,
Yeah,
and that is a distancing effect. So I think the challenge is honestly to just be truthful to the beat, to the story, to the character. And it's not something that you can force. And if you do, your readers will feel it.
pick
They'll
up on it.
sense it.
Yeah. Mhm. Especially your people who are familiar with your previous writing, I guess. And also,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
is that something that you take into consideration a lot, I imagine? I mean, you said there before that you took a lot to heart what people said about
Yeah.
a previous book, and you kind of wanted
Yeah.
to kind of write something that was smaller.
I I mean, for better or for worse, I'm reading Goodreads reviews, NetGalley reviews. Like I want to
Yeah, you like to
I
read
would
them.
love I would love to take part in a conversation about this book. And that doesn't mean like directly like comment on other people's reviews, but it
Yeah.
is we put a book out there into this world and then people start talking about it. And I I want to engage at least to the extent that I understand what people are saying because I feel like I'm still learning. And whatever lesson I learn from this book, I'm going to take that into the writing of the next book. So when I read these reviews, I'm looking for an understanding, maybe a consensus, but some sort of like, what did people think about this book that I can take away with me so that when I write the next one, I'm at least aware of it. Uh, and so each book, you know, the conscious choice that I make at the beginning of a new story is always like, what are the takeaways from the last book? And what is the uncharted territory? Like, how can I push myself? Um, and, just to pivot from Wake Up and Open Your Eyes to a love story, the idea there was I don't want to write another Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. I want to do something a little more s smaller, a little more kind of like, uh, in the kind of like the dynamic of two uh, and really kind of like dig in deep to a relationship, like two characters, like learning to accept one another and open up to each other, for better or for worse.
Uh, I can't not talk. I don't want to give anything away about the actual kind of the POV, but that was what I most loved about this story was the way that you balance the different POVs in a way that
Yeah.
I've never experienced POVs in a book before.
Oh
Um,
man.
was that always intentional for you to write it that way, or was that something that that kind of grew organically as the book progressed?
I I didn't want to be in one character's POV. And given the fact that this was a love story, I wanted to kind of give the two kind of equal footing as much as humanly possible. Um, so that you would, you know, you would be with one of the characters for a while, and then maybe you would have a kind of point counterpoint, a different kind of view of the same kind of moment in time, or that you see the kind of narrative begin to kind of coalesce into one. Like, yes, there's two point of views, but at a certain point, they will, you know, they will unite. And
Yeah,
and that was kind of the trajectory of the narrative from the beginning. And just kind of mapping out the one step forward, two steps back,
yeah,
we're going to try this, that didn't work. Like in every relationship, there's a little bit of trial and error, and understandings or misunderstandings. And like, uh, yeah, so I just wanted to let them see each other for who they were so that when they come together, they become something new, something different.
yeah. I mean, especially that I don't want to give it away, obviously, but when they do come together, those certain sections were just just love those two bits. It was just so cleverly written, so really well done.
Thank you. Thank God.
No, that just really works so well because it's not often we get to see that kind of a perspective, especially
Yeah.
mingled together in the same chapters, which it worked so well. I've never read
Thank.
anything like that before. Great.
Whew. It's a relief to hear when it works.
Well, listen, before I let you go, I mean, we mentioned that movies at the beginning of the interview, and I know that you had the restoration of Grayson Manor has it's played at
Yeah.
a few festivals. How did that go down, and when will people get to see that?
Oh man, it's going well. It's a little tiny movie, but like it's it's getting a release. It's got distribution this October.
I
I
think
don't
you're
know if
playing
it's
it. I think is it
US.
playing at London from is it the London Fright Fest is going to be playing soon? Am I right?
Gosh, it played the Glasgow one last.
Oh, no, that's sorry. I'm going to mix up the Glasgow Fright
Yeah.
Fest. That's right. It played there.
Um, uh, but October of this year, it will at least be US distribution. And and then at some point, I think it'll end up on Shudder. I
Right.
hope I'm allowed to say that. But I hope I didn't give away something. But yeah, it's such a fun little lark. It's a real nasty kind of comedy of manners with Chris Colfer and Alice Krige. Like yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah. Great.
Pretty
Yeah,
pretty
Alice Krieger, I've got to
gleefully
speak to recently.
perverse.
She's great. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Amazing.
And
Oh
then,
my God.
and also with the book release, will you be going on a tour? Will there be a bit of a book launch? Can people catch
Yes.
you?
Yes. August 11th till the day I die, I will be out there on the road with this one. I think it's like 3 months of just
Three
like
months. Oh,
the tour.
well,
I'm still on book tour. I never stop. Like that's the thing. Like I'm just on one book tour, even if the book changes.
yeah, or if you, and I guess you, at the same time you have to do tours with other fellow writers because I know that you like to co-host,
Yeah.
mediate, moderate different things.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just fun.
No,
I'm trying to have
you
the
can
time
tell
of
you
my
have a lot of
life.
fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If I die, I want to make sure that I do as much as I can before then. When it happens, I'll be in the grave, but I'll be like, I made it work. I did okay.
Yeah, yeah. The same as Lilith or Jordan,
Yeah.
whichever way you look at it.
Hmm.
Well, listen,
Damned
Clay,
if you
thank you
do,
so much
damned
for
if you
your
don't.
time. I wish you the very best of luck with the book. Not that you need it. It's a
Thank you.
fantastic read, and I look forward to seeing you sometime soon.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Always a
Hmm.
pleasure to speak to you. All the very best then.
Yay.
All the best. Take care. Bye now. Cheers, Clay. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.